Hello everyone, this is Oblivion. Welcome to the channel. This is my first video on Prehistoric Kingdom or YouTube in general, and I hope you enjoy it. In this first video, we are going to be building a habitat for Smilodon gracilis, which is the smallest species of Smilodon. This habitat is placed in a zoo, the Turquoise Paleozoo, which is located in a coastal temperate biome. It was originally a project that was focused on building and making habitats that are realistic for the animals in the game, and as a separate Discord thread in the Prehistoric Kingdom's Discord channel. The project started about 1 year, one and a half year ago, and I've had this zoo since then and couldn't finish it. It was abandoned about 10 months ago, about 2 months into the making, when I only had built the entrance. And because of that, we don't have any footage of me making the entrance. And then I started about 1 month ago again messing around with the zoo and making habitats, or rather I say completing the entrance, and meanwhile filming it or recording it, which didn't go very well. This video became a bit too long because I didn't cut any of the process I went through to achieve the final result. I didn't cut any of the mistakes I made, and yeah, we got to the 15-minute speed build video. Originally it was 10 hours, 1.5 habitats, and 1 small garden. To show you that things won't always go as planned, I made the backstage area 3 times. The garden I built it I think twice, and the second habitat will not be what for the animal I originally wanted, so everything goes wrong in this speed build, and you will see it firsthand without any edits, except for the obvious change of speed to make it watchable. One of my biggest problems, one of my biggest issues with this build was that I made it too big. I had, as I said, wanted to make it for Smilodon gracilis, but when I made the habitat and looked after the Smilodon and size of the habitat and the Smilodon, I noticed that I made the habitat far too large for just Smilodon. At first I wanted the 2 areas to be accommodations for males and females of Smilodon head, Smilodon pride, that we were going to have in the park. But as you saw, it didn't go as planned at all, and we will have to only use one of the areas, one of the habitats to house Smilodon. So my point is, don't get discouraged seeing other builds. Don't compare yourself to them, have patience. They may be putting so much more effort than you are, so much more time than you can, and don't compare yourself. No one is perfect at first, as you can see through this video and through the other videos that I will be posting, that as I start building, it will get better, and you need to have patience. You need to put up with yourself, with your creations, to see the improvement they can bring you. And in the end, trust the process trust yourself. If things don't look well, if you don't like things, be sure to change them. No one is stopping you. And if you're happy with them, if you're happy with your builds, don't hesitate to stop right there. So that's my reason for the video being too long. I hope you accept it and you embrace it, because it is not going to change for this one. The other videos are going to be much shorter. Now, if you remember, I said we are going to be building or making the habitat for Smilodon gracilis. And if you have paid attention to the animals in the game, we don't have Smilodon gracilis. We only have Smilodon fetalis and Smilodon populator, which are the later and larger species of Smilodon. We don't have Smilodon gracilis. So what I did was using the ontogeny system. It is what you might recognize as animals growing seamlessly in Prehistoric Kingdom, unlike other games that have baby animals and are about park building. So what we are going to do is use Smilodon fetalis as a substitute or as a mock-up for Smilodon gracilis. We are going to put the neoteny slider in the hatchery to 40 to 50%. That stops the growth of the animal at that percentage of the growth, which would give us an animal that is going to look like Smilodon gracilis, that is going to be the size of Smilodon gracilis. There is a Google Docs document that shows you which animals you can use for to substitute other animals, and which animals can they substitute, if that makes any sense. And I will leave a link to it. It is done by Mr. CDP on Discord of Prehistoric Kingdom, and don't hesitate to check it out. One of the obvious examples of this can be using baby or sub-adult Tyrannosaurus rex as Nanotyrannus, which is a valid species now. Alright, now onto the animal we are going to be making a habitat for. The name is Smilodon gracilis. It is a species of Smilodon, the earliest and the smallest species of Smilodon, which Smilodon itself is derived from two ancient Greek words. One is smile or smile, I don't know how to read it, which means double-edged knife, a carving knife, or chisel, and odous, which means tooth, which in combination means knife-toothed. There are three species of Smilodon, Smilodon gracilis being the earliest and the smallest species of Smilodon, Smilodon fetalis being the medium-sized in-between species, and not too large, not too small, and Smilodon populator, which is the largest and the South American Smilodon. They have corresponding names. Each species of Smilodon has corresponding names with how they looked in life. For example, Smilodon gracilis means slender or gracile knife tooth. Smilodon fetalis means deadly knife tooth, and Smilodon populator means destroyer knife tooth. Smilodon populator being the largest species of Smilodon that we know of, the South American Smilodon. Smilodon gracilis was 1 meter high at the shoulders, which translates to 3 feet or 1 yard. It had a weight of 55 to 100 kilograms, which translates to 120 to 220 pounds. It was the longest living Smilodon species with approximately 2 million years of lifetime, which is quite impressive for species, considering most species wouldn't make it that far. For example, the other species of Smilodon lived quite shorter lives. They went extinct about 10,000 years ago, but we have evidence of them living past that, a little bit past that. Smilodon gracilis was the prototype Smilodon, if you would call it that. It was the earliest species of Smilodon, as I've said 3 times now. It likely derived from Megantherion, which is another species of Machaerodons, the family that Smilodon belongs to, that first lived in the Asia and then crossed over to the North America using the land bridge that formed in Pleistocene or Pliocene. So one of the most interesting things about saber-toothed cats in general as a group is their saber tooth. They had these large, massive canines compared to other animals that were used for obviously killing their prey. They were large enough that they couldn't have their lower canines preserved if they wanted to preserve these. So the lower canines became more like incisors. They didn't lose them, they changed their shape. If you count the upper incisors and lower incisors of Smilodon, they are not equal. It has 3 pairs of incisors on the upper jaw and 4 pairs of incisors on the lower jaw, which is quite cool, because another adaptation for this lifestyle that Smilodon lived was its jaw. The jaw of Smilodon had quite a large gape. It could open its jaw quite wide, and for an obvious reason, it needed to use its jaw to deliver the bite with those large canines, and so it had to open it quite wide. Another fun fact about Smilodon is their choice of lifestyle. They had these huge canines, these massive, broad and flat forelimbs, and this shortened tail and smaller legs, smaller back legs, which were used for bringing down prey. All of them were specialized for stalking their prey, for ambushing them, and bringing them down to strike with their canines precisely. There are also evidence of group behavior for Smilodon, and quite compelling evidence if you ask me. They had this injuries in some of the fossils found that should result in death. For example, broken spine, broken vertebrates. But they didn't, and the animals were growing bone tissue around the injury, around the broken bone, which means they could eat, they could hunt, but not themselves. They could eat the hunt, which means they were taken care of by other members of their family, which is quite fascinating because we don't have that evidence for many species. For many animals, all we have for group behavior is tracks, which can be just animals getting together to enjoy a meal, like Komodo dragons do. Or we have massive graveyards, massive fossil sites that show a lot of animals of the same species, which could also be caused by a flood and not by group behavior, which is why these findings are quite impressive. So, to top it all, Smilodon was an ambush predator that specialized in hunting larger prey and ambushing them, which also possibly lived in prides like lions do, and they took care of each other. And that specialization in hunting large prey is probably the cause of their extinction. With the downfall and extinction of megafauna, the Smilodon didn't have any prey, any reliable source of food to rely on, to hunt, and they probably went extinct because their habitat changed and they didn't have the prey they relied on to survive, which in the end caused them to die. Now onto the habitat. You're seeing me building the backstage, and as I said, it will be going to be redone quite a few times, this backstage area. The terrain of the habitat for larger felines and felids in general would be better to have some small or some extreme terrain variation, terrain elevation, rock formations, having climbing frames, having logs and caves and all sorts of stuff. What you saw before is that I made two separate habitats, and as I've mentioned before, at first I was going to use it to separate males from females in times that they should be separated. For example, in mating season, they need to be separated. The males, most of the time, have quite aggressive nature during that time, and they might hurt females, they might hurt babies, and that's dangerous. That's why I first was going to be making two separate areas for the same habitat, but then I brought in the Smilodon and saw that it was too big, far too big, and so I decided to use one area for Smilodon and the other area for another species that you will see in about 3 to 4 videos, probably 2. And now that we are building the backstage area for the animal, you can also see that I am making different sections to separate animals and gates and walkways for the animals, to separate them, to train them, and to quarantine them. That would make keepers' work a bit easier compared to how it would be if we didn't do that. Now again, I will be making changes to the backstage area eventually, again, because I made it too big for Smilodon and for the other species. So we will be making it more smaller, more compact, and I'm adding those for ventilation. The animals will make the area smell quite a bit, and it is important that you regulate the inside of the shelter as well. So that's what we are going to do right now, or what we are doing right now. Again, we will be changing some of these stuff and making it look much better. Another important thing about habitat and making habitats for animals, especially animals like these, is the safety of the habitat. In real zoos, you would have two separate areas for them, as I said, but because of the problem that came along, we made it one. And since Smilodon is quite a social animal from what we know, it wouldn't be much of a problem for them. In the end, these areas, these gates that separate animals from area to area, are mainly focused on keeping the animals in a certain area while the keepers are doing their job in another area. For example, you would you would lure the animals inside the shelter and close off the shelter's gate, and then the keepers would enter the habitat to do their job, to clean it, to refill feeders, to check the cleanliness of the habitat and stuff like that. Now that the vets are here as well, that is more of a necessity. I mean, they wouldn't get hurt right now, but still, I mean, it would be how it is. This would be how it is in a real zoo. One other mistake that I made was that I forgot to add one gate that connects the backstage area directly to the habitat. Now the keepers only have one way to get into the habitat, as you will see eventually, and we are redoing the backstage area right now. We are making it smaller, as you saw. The keepers only have one way to enter the habitats, and that is through the quarantine zone that we made for the animals. And that shouldn't be how it is in real zoos. So I would probably add them later. The keepers have 3 gates for each habitat. One is to enter the shelter zone for the animals, one is to enter the quarantine zone, and one is to enter the habitat from the quarantine zone. For fences, I used a combination of ditch. I used a ditch where guests are going to be seeing them to make their view a little bit more clear of the habitat, to have higher chances of spotting an animal, and mesh fences with electrical wiring on top of them to stop the animals from escaping via jumping. If the animals make a jump that is high enough to get to the top of the fence, they will be electrocuted and brought down to their habitat, which doesn't sound quite good, but they wouldn't be able to make the jump anyways. It's just a measure. If that happens, we are going to do this. And on the bottom of the fences, we have concrete pieces to stop the animals from digging their way through to the other side of the fence. And Smilodon, I believe, is quite a capable digger with those huge, massive forelimbs. As for foliage, I researched a paper on Port Kennedy's fauna and flora and a reconstruction of Port Kennedy in Irvingtonian period, which is about 1.6 or 1.8 million years ago to 250,000 years ago, which showed that there would have been trees like beech, oak, hazels or hazels, however you call it, some conifers like pines, and some shrubs and moss. It also showed that the area had large herbivores with abundance of plants and insects. So in conclusion, the habitat I researched for Smilodon gracilis was a temperate forest with regular irrigation and moist climate, along with large fauna, which would have been perfect for the lifestyle of Smilodon gracilis. The modern counterpart of that forest could be, it is not a 100% match, and we cannot say for sure, Appalachian forests, which I didn't look up, and I am not quite happy with how it turned out. You don't have to research these stuff for making a habitat. I just went for it because I wanted to make it as close to it as possible. And another factor to consider is that I didn't have any inspirations for how to make this habitat look natural, how to make it even. So I took that as my inspiration. If you have an inspiration, you don't need to follow that. And I haven't been to zoos quite much, so that is also another factor. So again, you do not have to research this kind of stuff. You don't have to make it like the habitat the animal used to live in. It doesn't give you anything. It just takes your time, and I just did it because I had the time and I didn't have any inspiration for the habitat and how it would turn out. So yeah, probably you shouldn't do this. Now, Something to consider when making foliage for your habitats, for your cats. I know Smilodon is not a cat, but still, for your felids, is to distance the trees from the fences. There are two main reasons for this. First, felids can climb quite well, and that can cause quite a bit of problems. You wouldn't want a felid, a large carnivore, to roam free among your guests and pose threats. And the second reason, you wouldn't want the trees falling on fences and destroying them, which can give the animals the opportunity to escape. Especially in climates where you would have heavy rain, heavy snow, maybe tornadoes and things like that. So factor that in as well. Of course, none of them would happen in the game, but we are here to make a realistic habitat, the most realistic habitat it can be. Also, if you have any tips on how to make it more realistic, don't forget to comment it. For food and enrichment, I used prefabs from the workshop. I will leave a link in the description so you can also use them and support the creators. The last part of the build, which we haven't started yet, is the garden. The garden, which is between the two habitats and surrounded by the two habitats and the backstage building and the guest walkway. It will be redone 2 or 3 times. At first I was going to be making it a more natural look, which didn't go as planned and I scrapped it, and then decided to go for a more garden-like appearance, and I am quite satisfied with that right now. But we will probably be doing a remaster of the foliage inside the habitat itself to make it look better, because I am not satisfied with that. I also added a gate in front of the backstage area near the guest walkway, so the keepers can access the backstage area from both sides, but ended up not using it and made a garden in front of it. So I eventually deleted it, which you will see in the end video, in the cinematics. And that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed it. I am sorry if I had stutters, if I had some weird accent. My mother language is not English or Spanish, so please do forgive me. And I hope you enjoyed. Sorry for talking too much, and Happy New Year's. See you in the next one, hopefully.